So you've just started playing Football Manager and you're very quickly realizing that there's a lot of information to try and digest when you first start the game. Well, that's the thinking behind today's video. I'm hoping that I can give you a little bit of a guide, a bit of a 10-step program to follow to introduce you to Football Manager and make it that little bit less scary. Hopefully it's helpful. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you are new here. My name is Clayts and today I'm going to go full teacher mode almost. It's a tutorial. Today I'm going to be addressing what is one of the most common messages that I do receive about Football Manager. One of the most common comments that I receive on videos too. And that's, how do you get started with Football Manager? It seems so hard. It seems like this massive game with so much information, it's a bit of an overloading feeling when you first start the game. And to be honest, I can understand that. There is a lot when you first load in to a game of Football Manager. So getting started as a new player, it's quite daunting. And if that is you right now, I'm hoping that today's video is going to help you out with that. I've broken down starting a new save into 10 steps, which I'm hoping you can follow along, perhaps even in real time as we go through these, to get you started on the game, to get you set up, to get you playing it, and hopefully enjoying it, because this is a game that I love and I want you guys to enjoy it too. That's the plan for today's video. Before we get into it, a quick word about the sponsor of this video. And once again, sponsoring today's video are the lovely people over at OneFootball. A big shout out to them and thank you for continuing to support the channel. What is OneFootball, I hear you ask? Well, let me explain it to you. OneFootball is a free to download, excellent, brilliant football app. You can download it as well by clicking the link in the description of today's video. That will help me out, but it will also help you out because you will have access to an amazing football app that has basically anything you could possibly need in terms of football apps. You will be able to go and look at the live league table. You'll be able to go and look at live scores being pinged through notifications to your phone. You'll have your team news, your injury news, your transfer updates, your breaking news around the world of football, as well as loads of content being pushed out on there too in terms of videos and articles. It is pretty much your one-stop shop for anything to do with football, and honestly I use the app every single day and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. You can download that app, as I mentioned, by clicking the link in the description of today's video, and thank you so much to OneFootball for continuing to support the channel by sponsoring. So step one, right at the very beginning, we're going to need to choose a club to manage and set up our game file. The first step of that is to go to the main menu and click Start a New Game. We want to select a career match, although a career game file, I should say, although you do have other options here like Create a Club, Online Career, Fantasy Draft, and Versus Mode. For now, though, we're going to focus on the main game, which is Career Mode. Then you will get to choose the team that you want to manage. On this screen here, by the way, there are a few different options. You could first of all select to become an international manager or a club and an international manager and start as both, or you could choose to start unemployed. I'm going to choose what I think most people would go for at this stage, which is to be a club manager. Here you have the options of which countries and nations to choose your club from. Then you have the different leagues from each one. Fairly self-explanatory at this stage. I'm going to choose Brighton because they're nice and licensed in the game. You choose your team from here, and then you want to click Advanced Setup rather than Quick Start, which will just load in the leagues and everything automatically. You probably want to go Advanced Setup here, and I will show you exactly how to then set up your game file after you've selected it. On this screen now, you'll need to load in the leagues that you want to have players loaded into your game from. It's also the leagues where you can become a manager other than the league that you're starting in. So as Brighton manager, I will have the Premier League as my first nation, but I also might want to add in League 2 and above so that I can go and manage there. Or you could just go and say playable and then view only below, which is a nice option because it means that you can't go manage in those leagues below, but you will be able to see some of those players. That will go alongside, and what I suggest you go and do is add the major ones here. Maybe also once you've selected the ones you want, let's say Italy, France, Germany, etc, etc. Maybe also once you have selected the ones that you want to have for your save file, make sure you save it here, save as, and then you can just load it in next time. I've got my setup here, so it loads in all the leagues that I usually use, and then I can adapt it from there. Don't pay too much attention to these stars. However, this is a bit of a guideline on how fast your game is going to run with the leagues that you have loaded. Think about where you want to manage. Think about which players you want to be in your game. And that's what you can go for here. Don't panic too much, though, because you can adjust these later on in the game and remove leagues as you go through. But you won't be able to, they won't actually be removed until a season has ticked over. So you can change it, but don't worry too much about it. There's two other parts to this screen. You've got this part up here, which is about how many players you want to load in. There is an advanced part here where you can load in players from leagues you haven't loaded in. Don't worry too much about this unless you're sort of au fait with this screen a little bit anyway. If you're just starting out, just load in the leagues that you want, really. The other part of the screen, though, is these advanced options here. I recommend that if you're just starting out on the game, you probably want to disable the player attribute masking. A lot of people see this as a bit of cheating, really, because it means you can go and look at other players and see how good they are. You see all of their attributes. But I think if you're starting out, I think that's probably fair to disable that. It means that you can see all the attributes of all the players once you click on their profile. The other part of this is I would usually click do not add key staff because you just don't need to. And other than that, I would leave the rest of them completely unticked. The final part of this screen then is to select when you want to start your game. I would suggest that maybe the default setting on here is probably going to be a good one. If, for example, mine matches up with Brighton, it's an early pre-season start. You could go slightly later. You can even choose to start when the Champions League starts, for example. But do you know what? You probably want to go and do that transfer window at the start. For the sake of this, I would keep it nice and early. You get more time to get used to the game from there. Once you've done that, you want to click Start Game, and this will start to load your save. That takes us on to step 2. Step 2 is to create your manager. Now, there's parts of this that are important, parts that are not important, unless you want to make them look nice. Part of that is to fill in your details here, pretty self-explanatory, and then sort of make your manager, make them look however you want them to look. You have choices of things like hairstyles and etc, etc. You have their appearance. This has no effect on how they manage in the game. You'd be surprised to hear. If you want to be very wacky, click randomize and it will do it completely you'll end up looking like this. You have some chances to change your attire, etc. Let's move through to the screen then that does actually make a bit of a difference in game, which is this one here. Now, if you are completely new and you are just looking at this thinking, this is too much, I don't know what my coaching attributes or my mental attributes mean here, then you could just click on suggest badge based on Brighton or based on your team, get the correct badge for the team that you are managing, and not worry too much about these. They are minimal. However, you can tweak them and move the points around to give yourself a bit of a focus. If you wanted to focus less on goalkeeper coaching, take your points off your goalkeeper coaching and focus on your coaching of attacking players, for example, and maybe your coaching style, and move your points around that way. And then the final option is the slider in the middle here, which you can move your points between coaching attributes and mental attributes. If you think that actually you want to be more of a thinker, move your points into your mental attributes and you can then reassign them from there. This one here, I've still got 9 points to give out. So let's make myself very good at attacking coaching, like so. Make sure you do use up all of your points, though, to create your manager. And once you've done that, click confirm, and then we're into step 3 and we're into the game. That then takes us through to step number 3. And step 3 is called learn about your club. The screen that you're given next is a good way to start this. You are given a lot of information here, so kind of pick and choose which information you are going to need and use as manager of your team. But important ones, for example, are the transfer budget that you're going to be given. Some of your rivals are up here. Some of your facilities, which you might want to think about improving as time goes on. For example, here, Brighton have got superb training facilities and superb youth facilities, which to me makes me think, okay, I'm going to look out for those youth intakes. We might get some good players coming through at the club. If you click next, it will move you through to a bit of an overview of your team or your squad. This might give you a bit of an idea of what tactic you want to set up in as well. This is the team report, the best 11. It usually reflects the tactics that they have been using most recently with their old managers, the way that the squad is set up. So with Brighton here, you can see that they are using a back 3, something that you might want to stick with because the squad has been designed for this, and then maybe over time adapt it from here. You can also see the players that have loan obligations. So we're loaning in Levi Colwill at the moment. That's good to know. And then if we move through to the next one, this is an important screen too. This is your club vision. Now you do need to follow your club vision. The one thing that will get you sacked from being a manager of a team on Football Manager is not adhering to the club vision, where you have to do these things. You have to sign players under the age of 22. That is favored. It does also rank them here, look, in terms of the importance, but I would try and tick off at each one of these boxes if possible. We need to grow the club's reputation. We need to sign players for profit. We need to work within the wage budget. And in terms of results, we need to finish mid-table at the very least. This is required. This is where you will see if you are below mid-table, if I'm in the relegation zone, you'll see that my manager rating starts to become really poor and I'm likely to get the sack. Same as if I'm not competitive in the FA Cup, because this is a required objective. We simply have to do this. It's good to know what is expected of you here, because this is going to make or break you as the manager. After that, you also see the support division, what they expect of you. So they want us to become an established Premier League team and also become a better team than Crystal Palace in terms of our reputation. You'll then be asked to save the game, and that is step 3, getting to know your club. Step 4 then is the first step where we find ourselves properly in the game and in charge of our club. Step 4, I would like you to start assessing your squad. On the screen here, you can see the main screen, which includes our inbox where you receive all of your emails. Follow these emails, follow some of the tutorials included in these emails too. It will teach you about how to use lots of the different menus that you are presented with in the game. However, maybe actually before you even move on to this, you might just want to go and explore here and learn how to navigate between the different screens, maybe start to understand what some of them mean. There's a lot of information there though. So what I suggest you do instead is maybe ignore a lot of it right now and go into your squad screen where you will see now the players that you have at your club, and you can go and have a look at them and start to learn a little bit about them. On this screen, you have their positions, their condition, their sharpness, morale. Again, don't worry about this too much right now. Mostly, you want to have a look at their positions. You want to have a look at their profiles by clicking on them. The number 1 goalkeeper at Brighton is Robert Sanchez. I can see his profile here, and I can start to see, okay, here are his attributes. This is how good he is. Here's his transfer value. That's his wage. This is his positions and his familiarity. Start to understand what these screens mean as you look at them, and then work through and think, okay, there's Lewis Dunk. If you hover over on this icon here, you can actually see a bit of a pop-up of their screen, of their profile, rather than clicking into everybody. You can also, I mean, there's lots more here that you can go and start to do comparisons, and you compare them with the other players in your squad and learning which player is better. Try out these different menus and start to learn about it. From this straight away, look, I can see Lewis Dunk is better than Shane Duffy. I think we've learnt that from that. What I think is useful at this stage is start to think about, what will your squad look like? Who are your good players? Who are your not so good players? What tactic do you think would be appropriate? And maybe also starting to think ahead about which transfers do you think you might want to go and bring in to the club. And maybe to go back a few steps here, but actually if you're thinking, I don't know anything about this club, maybe starting the game with a team that you do know, maybe the team that you support, is a good place to start, because you'll know more about that club. For example, if I wanted to go and manage Liverpool, I'd know that maybe I'll sell Naby Keita, for example. I think maybe that'd be a good place to start. However, if you don't, you're just going to have to get to know them. It might take a little bit longer. One thing with FM is take your time. The game only progresses when you click the continue button. So take your time. There is no rush. You can really get into it by just slowing it all down. And maybe at the start, that's a good thing to do. Step 5 is to set up a tactic for your team. Click on the tactics tab on the left-hand side, and you'll be met with this, the tactics induction, a bit of a tutorial if you've not already done this. This will teach you how to do it, basically. Click create tactic now and follow the instructions. A tip here is to have a look at the tactical styles and the suggestions that have the thumbs up icon next to them, because that suggests that they are suited to your team already. And if you are really stuck on what tactic to go with, it's a bit of a meme, but go with Gegenpress, because it usually does work in Football Manager. So click Gegenpress. That's what I'm going to go for in this particular game here. I'm going to then click next on here and choose my formation. The formation I'm going to go to, these are the suggested one. The one that has the thumbs up here is because you have players that suit it. Remember, I did though get suggested to have a back 3 earlier on. I'm going to move away from that, but maybe you want to think about what you were suggested with the team report at the start in one of our older tips here. I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with the 4-2-4 here as my setup, as my shape. Once you've confirmed that, you then have a tactic. A lot of people overthink the tactics that they are using. They think there are too many buttons here to press and there's too many options to change. Am I going to spoil things? If you are feeling overwhelmed by the tactics screen, simply go with one of the presets. The presets are set up to be well balanced and they can be really effective. For example, the Gegenpress will be effective especially if you bring in the players that are suited to playing a Gegenpress style. If you are stuck with this, literally click on the top of the tactic tab here, go to presets, choose the type that you want. Gegenpress has 3 here. Tiki Taka has a few. Maybe if I wanted to go with that back 3, I could change to a Tiki Taka, and then I have that set up for me there. I know that this is going to be well balanced and work pretty well, and you don't have to worry about it too much. It isn't that scary to go and do this. I'm going to go back though, because I did say I'm going to do Gegenpress. I'm going to go 4-2-4, and it will look like this. From here, last tip before we move on to the next step of the tutorial is, if you want to see what your best team might look like in this tactic, go and ask your assistant manager to help you with this. You have a quick pick button up here, which if you go to the drop down menu, you can go across to pick without restriction, pick entire team or pick best 11. Pick the best 11 and it will do it despite them being injured or out on loan or anything. It will pick you the best 11 team in the positions that your assistant manager suggests they go and play in. This can be a really good starting point, and you don't have to feel too scared about doing it because you know that this is going to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty strong. There's my 11 there. Look, there's my tactic. Now you want to have a look at this and think, okay, I've got some star ratings to go by here, which is how suitable they are for the roles. Is there anybody who's lacking, or is there any players here that I don't think are good enough? Maybe I don't rate Dennis Undav, for example. Maybe I want to go and sign a striker, which can take us into our next step. Because that takes us through to step number 6, which is trying to sign a player. It's about scouting. It's about finding players that you want to bring into your club. Now, this is, for me, the most fun part of playing Football Manager, signing players. And I want to show you just how you go about doing that and how I would start off by doing that in the game. And that's by going to the scouting tab on the left-hand side. There is an induction here. There is a tutorial. If you want to go through this, it will teach you how the scouting actually works in Football Manager. I'm going to skip it here because actually you don't necessarily need to be doing this. What I suggest you do is instead go to players in range, and from here you can start to search for some players. Alternatively, if you know which player you want to sign, if you know that you want to go and try and sign Skamaka, for example, you could search him at the top here and find him by clicking on the names at the top, which will bring you up to their profiles. I'm not going to sign Skamaka because I don't think he will join. Instead, I'm going to show you how I would go about signing a striker or finding a striker. What you want to do is click on new search on the top right here. By the way, do be careful and make sure that you have the correct scouting range on. For Brighton or top division teams, you want to be scouting the entire world to find all of the players. If you're a little bit lower down the pyramids, you might need to just suggest which scouting package you have for your team. I'm going to go with world here, and I'm going to go to new search and start searching for a position, striker, and you could now start to select the attributes that you want here. This is a little bit in depth, isn't it? But maybe you want a pacey striker. Let's just do pacey. A key tip here to finding players that actually will talk to you is to click on the transfer, interested in transfer. Make sure this is clicked. And I usually go and put it on doubtful because as long as they'll talk to me, I'm confident that I can turn them around and get them to talk to me. And I've got players here that have at least 15 pace and are interested in talking to me. I'm looking at Lucas Nemecha here. Then you can scroll down. You can find all of them, look. And even also, if they've been scouted, they will have a recommendation here. Adam Eder, look, is recommended quite highly by our scouts here. You can also then put them in order by their transfer value, etc., etc., or you can just go by whatever it was on to start with. I just found, well, do you know what? I've clicked off him here, but let's go with Myron Boadu, because he's decent. He's fairly young still. He plays for Monaco. I think we've got the money for him. You could scout him by clicking on him, or you can go to transfer and make an offer. You might want to, before you do this as well, which is relatively new to FM, speak to the agent who can tell you actually, are they interested in joining you? How much would they cost? Because it's good to have this knowledge going into the negotiations. So Boadu, I've been told, is interested in joining us, although he has doubts about it. But he would cost us 12.5 to 15 million pounds, which is pretty affordable, meaning that if I offer 13 million, they might well accept it now. They want 15.5. Let's negotiate it. They want some percentage of the future sale. Let's go 13.5 plus that. Now it's gone green because I've suggested it and they've accepted it. This then will get us to be able to talk to him and do contract talks with him and actually get him to join our club. As simple as that. And it's really fun when they join. You can put them into the team. Oh, by the way, they won't actually join until you continue the game, which is by pressing the continue button up here. And then you'll get an inbox here, an email in your inbox telling that they want to start contract talks. In fact, if I continue now, we should get that pretty much straight away. And there we have it. Look, he has doubts about joining, but I can start the negotiations with him. Again, you have a bit of a tutorial for this. And let's see if we can convince him to join us. Okay, he's happy with that. He wants a lot of money, but I think he's going to be happy with that, and he should accept that now once I again continue and go forward from this point. Step 7 is an important step for making your life easier as the manager, and that is to use your staff wisely. You can go to your staff screen here, which is the tab on the left. Again, there's an induction, there's a tutorial, so don't be too scared. And honestly, go and do these because you will learn a lot through doing so. However, if you are lazy, then maybe like me, then you could just skip this and I'll show you what I would be doing with my staff from here. And that is to go to the responsibilities tab. If you go now to overview, I wouldn't look at this screen because there's a lot on there. However, go through each line on here. Start with the board and start to think about, okay, there's not anything I can change on here. Go to staff and start to think about now, what do I actually want to do as the manager here? Do I want to get somebody else to go and do these jobs and just focus on the things that I want to do, like signing players and playing the matches? Do I want somebody to be in charge of hiring and firing the director of football? And if you do, delegate it to a different person. The chairperson will then go and do the director of football and go and hire and fire the technical director. Go and delegate out all of your responsibilities that you don't want to do. It will make your life easier and you can focus on the things that you do know how to do. What you can then do later on is when you become better at the game and you understand the game further, you can go and take back some of these responsibilities and start to take more control of the club. But there is no harm in just saying, do you know what, I don't want to be the one who hires the staff. I don't want to be the one that is in charge of the under-21s manager, for example. Same thing goes for contracts here. I don't want to be in charge of giving them contracts. Go and set them all. You can even click the button that says settle to the recommended staff member and actually take some things out of your hands if you're feeling like it's too much that you're in charge of here, especially things like scouting, because that seems like a lot, doesn't it? Just get them to do the scouting, maybe just do the meetings, especially things like press conferences. If you don't want to do them, just set them all to the recommended staff member. There isn't really any net negative of doing this. It's just something that it makes your life a little bit easier. What I will suggest is, for the start though, go and take control of the friendly matches to practice with, but after that, probably delegate the friendly matches out to a member of staff as well. My 8th step for starting a brand new FM save or starting FM for the first time ever is to go and play your friendly matches. I want you to see these first games here, these friendly matches, as a bit of a free hit. There is no pressure on them. If you lose, the board aren't going to care. The players don't really care. And often the friendlies that are scheduled are pretty easy anyway. For example, in this Brighton save that I've started, my first friendly is against Bayern Football Club of South Africa. I think I'm expected to beat these. And if you want to make it really simple for yourself, literally click that quick pick button and have the team picked for you. You can see also I've signed Boadu as I showed you earlier on. It will pick the team that is suitable to play, that is the most fit at that time with the most morale and etc, etc. Your assistant manager is basically in charge of picking that team at that stage. Submit the team, get yourself into this first game and start to learn about how the matches look and play and run in FM23 in a situation that isn't full of pressure. If you lose, nobody cares really, and it doesn't matter. You've got another friendly coming up anyway. Here's my team against Bayern Football Club, and you've got your team talks here again. Just you've got assistant recommendations. Go with the assistant recommends one. It will usually work absolutely fine. That's the thing with FM. There are so many prompts and tips to follow that you can't really go wrong as long as you're not trying to be too clever with it. And at the start, I suggest don't try and be too clever with it. One tip as well, when you do get into the game, this is slower than the earth is turning. You need to up the speed a little bit. Go to the here, and I usually play with key highlights. I usually move this one up from the middle. A lot of people play on 2 up from the middle, and then put this one all the way to the top. You can change your camera and things here. Director's a pretty good place to start with that though. It looks pretty good, and we're underway. We've got our first highlight. Will we score from the first highlight here in this lovely orange kit that we're wearing today? Here is Pervis Estupinian. He's giving it away. It's going to be cleared, and that's that. Watch the game, learn from it, learn what you need to do. You've got shouts down the bottom left here if you want to shout at your players. If you're wondering what to do, there is a bit of a system to this. If you are drawing, encourage is really good. If you're winning, praise them. If you're losing, either demand more or berate them. Go with that as a starting point and you won't go wrong. You can change your mentality, but I wouldn't play with it too much. And then you've got your instructions here. Again, don't fiddle with things too much. If you want them to be successful, stay with the presets. And then as you learn about the game a bit more, that's when you start to tweak and fiddle a bit more. Use them as a starting point and go from there. Play your friendly matches. That's step number 8. We're getting towards the end of our steps now. Almost at the end of our steps now. And step 9 is going back to something that we did mention briefly in an earlier step. And that is to use your emails wisely. In your emails, it's going to provide you with lots of different tutorials, lots of different prompts that is going to guide you in the way that you need to just go about managing your football team. For example, in my emails right now, I have a recruitment advice summary where I'm thinking about my recruitment advice. Well, I'm thinking about my recruitment, and it's telling me players like Adam Lallana, I should offer him a new contract. I can even use this inbox message here to click this, and it will go straight to adding or giving Adam Lallana a new contract. If you are really stuck for what to do, this is the place to start. If you're thinking, I don't even know what to begin with, maybe literally just go through and do these things. Obviously, you can make up your own mind with these things. But look, it says Jason Steele, don't offer him a new contract because he's not good enough. That's good to know. It also says about Leandro Trossard may run down his contract if I don't sell him. So maybe I need to transfer list him here. It's something to think about. Have a look at his profile and make a decision. There are so many of these different prompts in your inbox, and it's just worth keeping on top of. Here's a coaching advice, and it talks about maybe I should add Alexis McAllister as a free kick taker. If I click that, it will take me to my free kick takers, and I can go and have a look. Okay, Alexis McAllister should be taking free kicks. Let's go here and do my quick picks. Again, so many prompts that will give you, it will do things for you. You just need to make sure that you are doing what it's telling you to do on the screen. A lot of FM is just pointing and clicking, and once you get used to doing these things, they become habit, they become routine, and it's much easier. And if you're stuck, there are tutorials in the game. If you go to your preferences, it will have tutorials in there as well. There is a help button here which will guide you on everything. Here are all the list of the inductions. If you are stuck and you think, I have no idea what the data hub is, there is one here which you can go and have a look at. All of them are on here. You can change how experienced you are on here. You can go and do all the inductions. It will teach you about the game, and you can use your menus to go and do that. That will bring us on to step number 10. And step number 10 is the biggest one here, which is to persevere, is to play the game, is to experience it. The best way to learn FM and get yourself into a game is to stick with it a little bit. I understand that feeling of it feels like a lot. I can really relate to that. However, it's one of the most immersive games that I think I've ever, well, it is. It's the most immersive game I've ever got myself into, and it is so rewarding if you just stick with it. There's a lot to take in, but the best way to learn all of that is just to do it and you know, live it. Get on the roller coaster and enjoy the ride. It is truly the best way to do it. Have fun. Hopefully today's video has been helpful. Hopefully these steps will help you to get started in your saves. Let me know if it has been in the comments down below. And also, if you've watched this and you have your own tips that you'd like to offer, maybe you could put those in the comments down below too for new players. And if you watched this as an experienced FM player, first of all, GG's for getting to the end of the video because it's been a long one. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new here and you've enjoyed this and it's been helpful, please do subscribe to the channel and leave me a like on it as well. And I'll be sure to bring you a few more tutorials and lots more content into FM23. But most importantly, have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.